All right, we're recording. All right, so this is episode 11 of this show. Yes, sir. Uh, we got two special guests today because I think this is our first real interview with two people, and then we got Lily and the bunny in the background, which I love. We got Joe and Anthony Sasso. We're missing Chris Sasso. Vinny Sasso is still in high school, so we will not interview him. But Joe, I think Joe might have been the wins leader for a second too. I think he might have had it for a second. He was up there.
Joseph had 118 wins.
How many, Joe?
I had 120.
Oh, 120.
Okay, 120. So Joe was the wins leader for a little bit after Scotty, I believe, and then it went from Joe to Matt to Aaron. Joe is a two-time all-section wrestler. I believe he was fourth and third.
Yeah, fourth and third.
Had a good career there. Anthony Sasso, career wasn't as exceptional as Joe's, but Ant came a little bit later into the game than Joe did. Ant was a section qualifier his senior year, worked his butt off, got a lot better as he went, and is now our modified coach, who did an excellent job this year coaching our modified, didn't miss anything. Occasionally went to doors he probably shouldn't have went into and things of that nature, but he did a really good job. So we got the Sasso boys here, and as always, we got Coach DeBellis. I'm going to lead it off. Joe, you answer first. Ant, you answer second. It might be a similar answer, being that you guys are brothers, but how did you guys get into wrestling? So, Joe, you start, and you get in there after.
DeBellis. I was in DeBellis's tech class in middle school. I think it was 6th grade. And he came up to me and he was like, hey, like, why don't you wrestle the way DeBellis does to everybody? And I honestly, at first, I was like, no, like I play football. Like he's like, they're in different seasons. You can do both. And I was like, are you sure? I don't know. And I was a new kid in the school, so like I was just trying to find my place. And then DeBellis was just like, yeah, like we practice for like a little bit and then we play a game. And then I asked my mom, and she was like, okay, sure. And every Monday, Wednesday, we would go to Pee Wee's, and that's just kind of how it just got started. Like, just naturally into it, and that was it.
All right, cool. How about you, Ant?
I had to go to every Monday and Wednesday practice with my family. So probably after the second week of it, my mom just said, go out there and just try it. And, I waited until probably the end of the season to go out there, but, still started, and then ended up starting to actually wrestle my freshman year of high school. So got into it because of him, really, and got everybody into it.
Cool. Coach, you remember meeting these guys?
Oh, yeah. Well, something special about the Sassos, there's 4 boys. And in my family, there's 5 boys. Well, growing up, before my little brother came along, who's now 32 probably, there was 4 of us, and I was the youngest. So me and Vinny have a lot in common. But I always had a special place for these guys because I knew, 4 boys in one house, then they're going to get beat on. So they're going to be tough.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that the last one of the bunch is the most successful, and that's not to take away from these 3 guys, but you learn from your brother's mistakes and you copy what they did well, and all those things. It should hopefully equal Vinny doing pretty darn good. Joe first, and then Ant, you could get on the same thing. Do you guys remember the transition kind of from youth wrestling to high school?
Yeah, I remember. I was me and Steve Nadler, and Jacob. Yeah, we're doing modified practices in the Greeley gym with the varsity, and we weren't allowed to do the same stuff at first, like do the same live goes and all of that. And then one day, Tutora was just like, you know what? Why don't you guys go wrestle with the varsity guys? See what it's like. See like the difference in the.
That's impossible. That's illegal. That would never happen. Just saying.
It was an off-season thing at Empire, though. Was when you wrestled.
That's possible.
With Ryan Rudinger, and Steve wrestled with Elijah Kim, and we got our butts kicked, and then we were like, nah, we could be better than these guys. We're better than these guys, and then we just kept going until we were freshmen, and you guys were juniors. Yeah. And that's kind of when it all started. Like, to like the transition of like having to step up, like doing more than 10 sprints, like doing like 2 or 3 extra just to like close the gap between modified and varsity.
Yeah, how about you?
So like I started late, so I didn't really have a transition period. The only like modified experience I remember was getting doubled through the doors in the back gym, and then all of a sudden I was in high school.
Who
So
doubled you?
Brock doubled me through the back doors.
Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
yeah, yeah. You know what's funny, Coach, is with the Sassos, it's like I kind of went a little forward and backwards there, but you deal with one Sasso, you kind of deal with the rest of them. It's like they travel in bunches, and it's like they're everywhere. You know,
Yeah,
you turn around, there's a Sasso. Like it's just like you can't get rid of them. And
The Sasso family's been around the longest. I mean,
yeah,
when I
been here
first started
from-
the youth,
Second year,
Well,
I don't know if when they started, I don't know if that was my first or second year coaching.
John Russo's senior year.
Was when he started. So I was 1 year in before the Sassos were involved.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
you had 1 year.
maybe
That's
one.
crazy. I've only been involved 1 year without the Sassos. And I have at least 3 more with Vinny.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
when
But
did
anyway,
when did
um,
Vinny start? Vinny was in there. I mean, he had to be like 4, 5, 6 years old.
you'd be
Yeah.
saying when Joe started, that was my first after my first year.
What grade were you in, Joe, when you started? 6th?
6th, I think. Yeah,
I was in
6th.
6th and then 8th,
But
What year was that? 6th grade for you?
2011.
Oh, okay.
I came the beginning of I went 2010, 2011. That was my first season.
Okay.
But what I was going to bring up was, and Joe, I'm sure you remember this, modified, you know, and coach knows that, you know, he talked about like Brock's team when they were modified was pretty good. Scotty's team was tough. You know, Aaron and Matt's team was a good modified team. But we knew that Joe and Nadler and that creative guys too were going to be pretty tough. And I remember going to Ute States his 8th grade year, and I went with the Empire guys and some Greeley guys. So I was there for, you know, a bunch of people. PJ Dukes of the world were there, Tyler Albus. I think that's the same tournament that Aaron Walker was crying because he took 3rd and he didn't win. And Joe ended up taking 2nd. He did a good job. I think he actually lost to Ja'Cory Teamer.
I don't
Long Beach. I
remember
think a
his
Long
name.
Beach guy.
Yeah, it was somebody really good. And he was basically in tears about losing like 0.2 or something before weigh-ins. And I remember talking to his brother, talking to his mom, talking to his dad, talking to his great aunts and whoever else the hell the Sassos had there, trying to figure out how do we get this guy down. And of course he made it, and then he did really well. And you were there that day too, Ant.
Yeah.
So both of you could speak on that. I don't want to say fiasco. The beginning of the day was a fiasco. The rest of the day was really good. So Joe, you could speak on that day and your memory of that day.
For me, I remember like stepping on the scale and just being like, oh my God, like I'm over. I'm not like on weight. Like I'm not just like ready to go. And I was like panicking because I was feeling good. Like, and I'd also dyed my hair blonde for it. So I can't not compete. And it was like the first time that I ever had to cut like weight to make weight, like the day of the tournament, like first time ever, like trying to lose weight, sweat it off. And I was just not good at it. I just like I was like, I think I was just in my head about it for so long. And, I mean, like it's not like I didn't do anything. Like I was wrestling and running around the whole time, but like I just kept like maybe getting tired and then like taking a sip of water and like not just like doing it and then having it done. But Anthony was with me the whole time, being my partner, drilling with me, going live with me. Like
I think all he really had to do was just pee. It was only like 0.2, 0.3.
yeah, it was bad.
We kept drinking
really,
water.
Joe, do you remember if I was was I very understanding?
Yeah, super understanding. You
can tell the truth. If
I
that's the truth, I don't remember. I really don't remember.
you were understanding, but you were like pissed understanding. You were like, I get it. Like this is your first, like this is what you like. You were explaining it to me, but you were mad.
But you better make it.
Yeah, you were mad. As the years went on, it was not like that when I was overweight. It was very much like you're an idiot. You knew you had to make weight today. Why did you eat a pizza last night? I I hate you.
Remember when Chris missed weight at Oswego?
No, I thought it was Easterns.
Oh, he did that at Easterns too. But
He also did it at Suffern.
and at Suffern. But Oswego, you did at Suffern. But Oswego, he missed weight. I made him run in that. I said, run. He said, until when? I said, until I come get you.
At Suffern too.
And I just left him in that gym.
But it wasn't a dark gym. You propped the door open with a weight, and you were like, look, just run back and forth. I'll get you when you're done. And I was running. I don't know how long. At one point, I remember thinking, like, he forgot. But I'm not going to stop. But because, like, if he sees me out of there, he's going to remember that he was supposed to get me. And then I'm going to be in a lot more trouble. I just ran until you came and got me.
That's funny. So, Ant, do you remember, and we'll talk about your wrestling career too, and Ant, we'll get a little bit into your coaching career because that's a different layer, I guess. But do you remember having to, whether it doesn't have to only be for Joe too, like it could be for Vinny now or Chris. Do you remember having any like times when you had to like step up for your brothers and be like, no, this is how you do it. Like, calm down. It's under control. And you like a big brother moment,
Like Joseph's home weight management, like we try to get him down, especially with Christopher. Like they would always freak out like the day before, like, oh, I'm gonna be over. Like a lot of like them stressing, and you just gotta really calm them down. I think I'd done a much better job of it, like having Vinny, just being a lot older with him. I think we only had one issue this year with his weight, and that's because he decided to eat like a wedge immediately after he weighed in, after he cut. So I don't know. You just gotta get these guys a little mentally tougher.
There was one time around like New Year's where Anthony wasn't home, and I was watching Vincent, and he was like,
"Well,
don't let Vincent eat anything."
Vincent was cutting to 160.
Yeah, I was like, okay, easy. Like I will be on Vincent like a hawk, and he comes downstairs, makes himself a bowl of ice cream. I took it out of his hands, and I was like, "You're not having this." Anthony told me that you have to cut weight. You're making weight. You're not having any of this. Like, Bridge is on lockdown, and I stayed downstairs, and I had friends over, too, at the time, and I was like, if you guys see Vincent eating anything, like, you have permission to, like, stop him, take the bowl out of his hand, like, grab me immediately, like, if he can't have chips, pizza, soda, anything, like can't have anything that's in the house. Well, we let him eat, like, celery. He had celery and peanut butter, and he weighed in, like, 5 pounds under and was so proud of himself.
Anthony, when you were a senior, were you a captain?
No, we had just the one captain.
Okay, right. Gotcha.
What happened? Who was the captain then?
Brock.
But there had to be somebody else. Was it just him?
No. Elijah was for like a minute.
He left the season with the injury.
And we took it away from him? No.
I don't know.
Anyway, that doesn't matter, I guess. But
I was thinking because Joseph was and Christopher was for a half hour.
Right.
I went to the first coin toss in the season in my senior year.
Did you?
Yeah, against.
Did we do that because you did something good, or what happened?
I went to John's in the fall.
So I told you to go out, or coach?
Someone must have. No one pulled me out. Someone must have sent me out.
I remember. Well, it's so hard to like interview these guys in a sense because there's so much, right? Like I could talk about a million things Joe did, and now Ann as a coach, and being that there's 4 of them, like the stories kind of weave together a little bit. You know what I mean?
So many.
I forget which one did which, and all that stuff.
But do you remember when Christopher, we gave him captain?
It was the best thing ever.
Tell that story.
I mean, I hope I don't botch it, but from what I remember is, at the end of last year, we made all the seniors captains, like Dom, Everett, and Chris, because they did a good job for us. They weren't Aaron or Matt or Izzy, so I don't think they weren't there yet. And Chris would admit that, work ethic wise and off season stuff, he didn't do that type of work. But he was a good guy for us for 4 years, and he got a lot better his last 2 years, and especially he matured a lot his senior year. And I remember saying, you know what, screw it, these guys been around, let's let them kind of. If they want to call themselves captains for the last 2 or 3 weeks, let them call themselves captains for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And Everett was excited about it. Dom, I think, was excited about it. And Chris was like, nope, too much. I think it was 30 minutes. And then, I made him do something. I made him, lead warm-up or whatever it was, I think. And he's like, nope, too much responsibility. I had to demote myself.
Hilarious. Christopher is hilarious.
Yeah.
It was hard to get mad at Chris.
He said he gave the title to Hojan immediately.
Well, Hojan was already captain, so he really couldn't.
Double captain.
Is the cap? He's like Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
I had to lead the first warm up. Torch texting me. I was like a junior. He's like, get everybody warmed up. Like, have everybody be ready for me. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't like I didn't have like a list. Like what I was like running a circle, and I was like, what else do we do? And I mean, eventually, like it like just flowed. It was really easy, and like Nick and Jacob and Steve all helped me, and Aaron. I mean Aaron.
Andre.
Well, Aaron did help. I don't know what I was saying, but yeah, like everyone just like filled in the pieces that I missed, and it was always very talkative warm-ups before just goofing around, getting it done. But
Was Aaron a freshman when you were a senior?
Aaron was,
I think he was a freshman, you were a junior.
yeah,
Junior. Yeah, so 2 years apart.
yeah,
Yeah, because I remember your junior year, you guys used to go at it a little bit when he was a freshman.
yeah. We used to go at it, and if he couldn't cradle me, if he didn't get the cradle, it was usually just like a battle for top and stand up.
And then the next year, he kind of would take it to you a little more because he was a 160 pounder and you were still a 126 pounder.
Yeah, I think I was
Or 32. Yeah. So both of you guys kind of, Ant maybe not as much because Ant didn't put as much maybe pressure on himself because it was newer to him and he was kind of like working through it. But Joe, do you remember how you would get as stressed as you would get for matches and maybe things that you wish you would have done a little different? Because we'd be halfway through a match and it'd be a good match and I'd say, Joe, elbow pass, and you'd like do the hand thing and like
shrug. I'd be like, what?
Yeah, that's it. But you were still super successful, but I think every once in a while you got in your own way mentally in your head. Is there anything that you would recommend for like the younger generation of to get past something like that?
Honestly, like close matches that are like not for like seating or something special, like if it's just like your own personal thing, like you don't need to get caught up in the moment as much because things like will pass. Like if you're really like struggling in the moment, like just like take a deep breath and realize like that like whatever I just messed up on earlier, like I can work on later, like next step, like focus on the next step instead of being like, oh my God, like he just scored 2 on the edge and like now I'm down by 1, like I have to get up, like I can't believe he did that. Like it's more just you have to think like just get up, and then the next step instead of focusing on what just happened. Because I would think about it all the time, like, oh my God, like I just got scored on this way, and like now kids are gonna realize that like they can shoot on like my left side easier than my right side. Like I was always overthinking it, and it really hurt me in moments that really didn't matter.
Coach, do you remember that like with Joe a little bit?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He would overanalyze it and get jammed up. But
I mean,
he would just let it flow. He was so athletic. I mean, it was unbelievable how strong and athletic and how quick he was, that if he just let it flow and he didn't get in his own way, he had a shot to be a state champ for sure.
I mean, the thing with Joe is you look at his career, and Joe, you probably realize it too. There's a lot of matches that maybe shouldn't have went as well for him because he was so strong and athletic. When he would throw a kid down, take him down, put him on his back, pin him, whatever it may have been, and then he would lose to somebody he never in a million years should lose to either, because he would get in his own way and get in his head. And it was difficult to coach sometimes, but it was still good because Joe was good. You know, Joe was winning. It was just frustrating in some matches where I knew he could have, semifinals against Fullerton. And, there's plenty of matches where I think you could have done better. But same thing, get in his own head. And we're going to get more to you on your coaching aspect. But for Joe, your senior year, third and fourth, this guy bums his shoulder, right? His shoulder's hurt. Okay. Stinks. Your career is pretty much over here, but what are we going to do? And Joe, I don't know if he remembers this, but comes up to me and basically tells me he's not wrestling for third and fourth. My shoulder's hurt. Like, I'm not wrestling for third and fourth. And I think I might have looked through his soul and was like, you're definitely wrestling for third and fourth. This is the last match of your career, possibly. If you're injured, you're going to have to push through it. And I think it's another thing where Joe overthink. Because then he went out there and just dominated him. I think he pinned Creed.
River.
Yeah, Louis Creed was no joke. That kid was pretty good. If that kid beats Joe in that match, that kid's going to states on a wild card. So, like, he wanted that match. Whatever Lou could say, whatever he wanted, but he wanted that match. But again, like Joe before was like, I can't do it. This hurts too much, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, he goes out there and sticks the kid. So, I think that's just a mental, he was just thinking. And I bet you, and Joe, you could answer this, I bet you that if you didn't wrestle that match, and we were having this interview right now, you took fourth your senior year and you forfeited your last match of your career, you would be pretty disappointed about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still like obviously like disappointed with not getting into the finals, but I like look back on that match like a lot and just think like, wow, I'm glad I wrestled it because like Louis Cree was like like a friend of me for like all of high school. We both of us were always in the same weight class, and um until senior year, he beat me every single time. I like would go against him, and I would think like, word, like this is the time that I'm gonna beat him, like this time, and then it would be like he has like 3 wins on me and this many wins on me, and then he beat me in the county finals my senior year, but like I beat him on a senior night
and really do
and Greeley duels I pinned him, and then in the section for section third and fourth I beat him. So like all of those big moments like I had, and like I don't even like I doubt that he looks back and is like, well, at least I beat Joe like our junior year, and like for like maybe he like is happy about the county belt, but overall like I won the matches that I can look back on.
More important ones. You
Yeah.
won the important match. So I mean, I think that's just not thinking too much. Coach, what he brought up too, Greeley duels. Do you remember that match? Oof.
Yeah.
You saved the day.
He had in a guillotine. He had the leg in, and he reached over and locked his hands before he was in criteria, and we got it reversed. And then everybody was mad about it, John Jay, and then Joe went out and stuck him right after that.
Remember, like you had to bring it back like a minute, pretty much. Who was the ref that match?
JJ.
Oof. Yeah. So that is something crazy.
He called Ray Sarcone on the phone during the match. Hey Ray, is it illegal to lock your hands in a guillotine? And he's like, yeah. Okay. They reversed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of time brought back. That was big.
Never seen it. Never seen it.
And I couldn't believe John Jay let it happen. I couldn't believe Swordfinger wasn't.
I heard, wasn't he a little angry though? He must have been a little angry.
He must have been at the end. I mean, but he let it slide though. He didn't get fired up.
And as a coach now, what do you think? I mean, you don't have to get too deep into it, but if you feel like it doesn't have to only be Vinny too, because you deal with the Michael Amatrados, you deal with the modified guys, you deal with kids on the varsity, you deal with a lot of these guys now. If you feel like somebody's overthinking, like Joe kind of did, what is your advice? How do you kind of like? It doesn't have to be deep, but like I don't know.
Well, for like people like Mike and the varsity guys, a lot of them stress they work so hard in the room for it, and they really get in their head, but they really just gotta go out there and let it fly and just
let it fly.
What do you do? Like you train every day for this. Like the worst thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna lose. The best thing is it's a 50-50 thing, and you just gotta go out there and show what you got. But for the modified guys, like I know which kids are more serious and which are less serious about. I know which kids are gonna go out there and not care what happens, and I know which kids are really gonna take it
seriously
and expect to win. So, for those guys, like they're really going out there and not expecting much. Just tell them to go out there and have fun and just, try to last the whole match if it's that bad. For the more serious guys, they know what to do there. You get locked in, we lock them in, and just they go out there. And a lot of them, like Kai and Teddy, like those guys that are going to be freshmen next year, I don't think they lost any matches in the modified season. So they're ready.
Yeah, I mean, you're coaching and the modified team, we were super impressed. And Tutora said, I think Sasso should be the modified coach. And he listed a whole bunch of reasons. And I'm like, well, sounds like a good choice. And everything he said was true. Everything he said that you would do, you did.
And you know what that means? You owe me half your check.
Yeah.
And now being that you didn't give it to me at the end of the year, there's interest on that.
You fired me at the end of the year, though. So
what's that?
No, you fired me at the end of the year. I didn't agree with you.
What about just his whole
You fired me and DeBellis because you're the head coach.
You shouldn't have reminded DeBellis he's going to cancel the show.
Oh my God. See you later.
What was I going to say? But no, that's great advice, and I even think for the high school guys, we need the attitude of it's not trying, but it's like just wrestle. Like I love to wrestle. You should love to wrestle. Here's another opportunity to go out there and do something that you like to do, rather than this is so like what happens if I lose? Because a lot of times when you're thinking like what happens if I lose, you lose.
Yeah,
right? So the worst thing happens because you freeze up. You're like, what happens if I lose? If you just go out there and wrestle and you lose still, okay, maybe it wasn't meant to be, and that's fine. It is what it is. But if you go out there and wrestle loose and you're the best version of you, hey, we'll see. We'll see where the chips land. You know what I mean?
I like how Kyle Schneider framed it. Remember his quote? He said something like, I don't go out there and wrestle the other guy. I just go out to wrestle my best match. And if my best match isn't good enough to beat that guy, oh well. But I'm not wrestling him. I'm just wrestling to see how well I can wrestle. So, and a lot of times we look in the rearview mirror and we crash into the next thing. So, you got to leave those losses behind you. Leave those bad things like Joe was saying earlier about, I'd be thinking, I just got taken down on the edge. And then all of a sudden, you're on your back, right? Because you're worried about what's going on that just happened, and you're not just wrestling, letting it flow. Action, reaction is wrestling. Action, reaction.
Yep. Joe, we'll start with Joe, and I'm going to flip it a little bit for Ant. So this is a double question. Your least favorite memory from wrestling, like whether it was a bad loss or whatever, and your most memorable, exciting moment that like you're still proud of to this day in wrestling. So start with the one you didn't like as much, and then your favorite one.
I know which one it is.
Favorite moment was my senior year at Cornwall.
I remember that.
I remember that.
I went 1-4.
Chris made fun of you in the house.
I think I did go 0-5. I remember it was
No. There were only 4 matches.
Oh,
so
4, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I was definitely losing more. I lost by like 2 to some kid who I think Jacob or Aaron told me was like ranked in the state, like number 1 in the state, and I only lost by like a couple points. And
you lost to Gazzillo from Cornwall.
You got thrown.
Steve Gazzillo. He was a 2-time section champ, though.
Yeah, but he was winning the match and got thrown, if I recall.
And I think we lost the match because of that.
And I was winning another match.
Ian Kelly or somebody from Saugerties, not Saugerties, Roundout Valley. Ian something.
I just remember Cornwall, Roundout, and there's
Pearl River.
Yeah.
Oh, Pearl Rivers. Yeah.
And yeah, I lost every match, and like I punched like a storage container, and like I still have like 3 scars on my knuckle from it. I like got pinned, but I like got thrown out of nowhere, like, and then I freaked out and like started slamming my head against like this like the stands. I was like
Good reaction.
No, yeah, I did not handle it well. It was like it was the worst day I ever had in wrestling, and like I'm not even like upset about like how I wrestled because I did good in my first 2 matches and like got caught in the throw, but like the way that I handled it was just like not good, and like I still like think about it.
Joe, you know what's crazy about that, and I don't want me to cut you off, but just think about it. I mean, he had 1 bad match in the semis of sectionals, right? But other than that, he had a bad record in the beginning of the year for a guy that was a returning 4th place finisher in the section. Like, he was a returning 4th place finisher in the section. We were hoping he was going to win a section title at least. So he goes 1-3 or whatever at this tournament. We're like, what is going on? And he was able to readjust and be the 1 seed going into sectionals after that.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
I know you were very emotional after your losses, but I remember speaking to you by the bleachers soon after that, and you calmed down.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
You put it into perspective fairly quick.
I was panicking. I was like, I'm not like now. I have no good like. I just got in my head like really fast and was just overall frustrated with myself.
So do you feel like the lessons you learned there in wrestling now work for you better in life? Like if something bad happens, do you revert back to that, or do you revert and say, listen, this is only one thing, I'm going to move forward?
I work at like a dog kennel now where like I'm also in charge of like bathing the dogs, and like I get good pay and good hours. And I still work there, but I had gotten fired because I was late, and I freaked out. And then I sat like probably for like 20 minutes freaking out, and then I was like, all right, like, you know what, like I was late, like they warned me, I screwed up, like it was my fault, like next time I get a job, like I have to be more focused on waking up. And then I started waking up earlier just to like be able to wake up early instead of like being like, oh, well, like I don't have a job so I can sleep in and then get a job and not be able to wake up for it. So like I just took what I did wrong and like worked on it, and then eventually like I didn't have to freak out anymore. They rehired me. I'm like technically like one of the supervisors on staff, and like I do overtime like every week when we are open. But my proudest moment would probably be my freshman year. I don't remember what team we were wrestling.
East Ramapo?
Maybe
That was a senior night.
I don't think it was a senior night. They
Kid was ranked or something, and you beat him.
wait.
I don't know. Tell a story. Go ahead.
So he was a junior or senior, and he was ranked I think third in the section, and he was like beating the crap out of me, like about to tech me. And on the edge of the mat, like I just like caught him in I think a cow catcher, or wanted like a tight throw, and I pinned him. And it was like I don't even know if we won the match or not, but like that was like the first time that I realized like, oh my God, like it's possible. Like it's like being like ranked in the section like is doable. Like I can do this. Like this kid's a junior and he's ranked third, and I just pinned him and he was winning the whole time. Like kids, like I realized like kids will sit on you, and like you can feel like almost like when you're wrestling, like that split second where they're like, it's in the bag, like I don't have to try as much anymore. And then if you still have it, you could just turn it up 1,000 degrees and might catch them, might even like just impress the crowd, or like have that kid like be scared of you. Like next time, like you could be his first round match in sectionals and he'll remember like, oh my God, this kid almost tossed me. Like this kid I only beat him by 1 point. And then, you're in his head for like those kind of moments. But
I think that was East Ramapo because it was right before divisionals. And I remember you being like, we were fired up about that match, and you didn't have your best division tournament. It was a tough division, though, if I recall, and you were a freshman.
Alexandria or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
And
Vinny Sasso the only Sasso to make sectionals as a freshman?
yeah, I was going to say that earlier, but I didn't want to cut you off or give him too much credit.
Yeah, don't do that. Never cut me off. And we won't say your least proud moment because, like I said, you started later in your career and you kind of, got going as you went on there. What was? Do you remember a wrestling moment that you like kind of were like happy about that made you proud?
A little happy. Yeah. So as a senior, I ended up. I think I was like before divisionals. I think I was 17-17 probably before divisionals, and they gave me the 11 seed in divisionals. Or I was the 7 seed. I had to wrestle the 11. We were in an out bracket match, and I felt like I disrespected. Like really sucked. Like I think I had wins over somebody ranked like fifth in that, like seated fifth in that tournament. So I was like, all right, I have to wrestle like an out bracket match as a senior again. All right. So I win that, and I actually I had to win 3 more matches that whole tournament. So I ended up making it to the semis, losing the semis, and I wrestle the same. Then I had to wrestle Avery Glass to get into sectionals, and like the tournament. I think a tournament before the Hen Hud tournament is like the tournament you go to. You're not in Easterns, you go to Hen Hud. And I remember walking into Hen Hud like thinking, all right, this is easy. I'm gonna win this tournament. I think I should be at Easterns. Like whatever, this sucks. And then I had a freshman on our team in the first round who I think quit the next year. And then I had Avery Glass in the second round. And like I completely overlooked. I was like, I'm in the semis, easy. I beat them both up in the room, whatever. And then, the second round comes around and Avery ends up hitting me. And that just like, really hurts. And, you just got to realize you can't like overlook things and just think like everything's like nothing's given at this point. And I think that helps carry out in life. Like in wrestling, it really helped in that sense. Especially, a lot of kids like on this team in this area, especially like thanks to a lot of things are given and nothing, why would I have to earn it? It should be easy, like go out there and get it. So I think that, that experience earlier in the season really helped like put a chip on my shoulder and get me into sectionals my senior year. I ended up taking third divisionals and yeah.
I remember that match, and I remember, of course you want everybody to do well that you coach, right? But I wanted Ant to get that win because he was a senior and Avery was a junior. So I kind of wanted to see Anthony get his chance to go to sectionals. And then Avery had a nice little run the next year, if you recall, at sectionals. He almost placed. He went on the backside and won like 3 in a row or something crazy at sectionals, and he was on fire. So he wasn't a bad wrestler, you know, and neither was Ant. I think if Ant started like 2 years earlier or something like that, he could have had a lot more success. And do you got any what do you think the differences are between being a coach and a wrestler, and which one do you like better?
I love coaching. I don't know. I think I can see everything better, especially. Well, I think it started when like I finally stopped wrestling. I would see, especially in Chris's matches, like certain things you see is like to be good at certain aspects of wrestling. It seems so easy, like watching it, but like going out there and doing it, I guess you don't really see that. So I think being a coach, I'm able to take that perspective and really like use my experience as a wrestler and put it in the room, and just be able to like help people because like like Joe, very good wrestler, like a lot of success. So like I was there, I watched him, I know what kind of work he put in. So like as a wrestler myself, I per se didn't put that kind of work in or the effort I think I should have to like get to the levels I want it to be. But as a coach, I know more or less like what it takes to get to where you want to be, and I think I enjoy that part, like helping people reach like their goals. So
Yeah, I like it better. I think I like being a coach better than a wrestler myself. But I love to wrestle.
yeah,
But I think and watching Ant in the room, I could see being a guy that we've coached, Coach Sabellis, being a guy that we coach, I could see him improving as a wrestler, as a coach, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like because
Yeah.
you understand things more. You're breaking them down to explain it to people, and like it kind of starts to really get in your brain there, and you get better. And I've seen him get better as a coach as he went on. And like you said, Coach, I thought he would do a good job. But as the year went on, he did a really, really good job. I mean, when he was first coming to John's in the fall before this season, he was doing a great job. I'm like, Coach, we should get in on staff. But like I'd be throwing a move, and Ant would like poke me in the eye or something, or do something ridiculous, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing?" I might have been a little meaner than I needed it to be, like just shake my head at him and kick him out and grab a kid or something like that. But he kind of like I guess the saying, kind of earned his stripes as the year went on. Like he worked hard. He was there for the modified guys. He was there for the varsity guys. And going forward, he'll be an intricate part of what we need to do. We need people with little egos at the modified level. Somebody that just cares about the kids, and doesn't need to be sitting in the finals of state finals yet. He more or less is worried about what he needs to do, and that's important. Coach, you got anything for these two guys here?
Nope, just it's been a pleasure, and it's great to have you guys back. I know Joey came back and did youth this year, and that was great. It's great to have him around. I'd love to see Joey and Ant coaching my kids when I coached you guys when you were their age. So Nikki and Jake, I was even thinking today, with Nick, my own son, it's tough to coach them. Like you were saying the other day, Ant. So it's great to have these guys come up, and they care about your kid, and they know that they're going to do the right thing by your kid, and your kid's going to look up to them. So so we have a good staff, and the Sassos have always been that way. It's a great family. Some of my favorite people out there.
We'll keep Vinny.
Yeah, Vinny's awesome. Vinny's a combination of all three of them, and he's actually funny.
He is funny. He thinks he called himself Little AJ the whole rest of the season. He said, "Little AJ, you got to make it out of the first period to call yourself that."
And he doesn't take himself very seriously.
No, he's good. Vinny's gonna if these two knuckleheads right here keep him in line, and just hold court at the Sasso household and make sure that he does what he needs to do. And that goes for school and everything else. That he's doing the right stuff. He'll have a great career. Like I said, Jacob Ferrer didn't qualify for sectionals as a freshman at the same exact weight class that Vinny did, and Jacob had a pretty darn good career. So Vinny could go down that route. I'm actually curious. I was thinking of it, and then we'll wrap it up, and you guys have the final words. But being that you guys been in the program for so long, and I pushed especially Joe pretty hard. Do you remember any? We haven't really talked about any of the workouts we do. Do you guys remember something that stands out that was really difficult that you were like, oh my God, this guy, what are we doing today? Like, why are we doing this?
I got one.
The practices where you'd be like, we're just wrestling live this whole time. And
no technique.
Yeah, no technique.
Today.
We're just doing lives today. And then we would do live for like an hour and a half. And then you'd be like, all right, buddy carries, like fireman carries, like all I remember one time when I was, I think, a 7th grader or 8th grader, I came into a Greeley practice with you were doing it with Billy Marino, Liam Mercer, Mitchell Klein, and I was like, I could do this. And I was just doing your guy, like you were like, Joe, you can't be a part of the workouts, like you're not in high school. And I was like, no, I'm doing my own thing. And I would just wait until you guys were done, and then just copy you.
Great, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, it was always, I can't really pinpoint a single time, even though like each year has its own like hell week.
They're different. They're different.
Like,
yeah.
But I mean,
Do you guys ever? I'm curious what coaches is because he jumped in and said he got one right away.
What about the time we did 100 sprints?
Oh yeah, were they on the team? Was Joe still on the team?
I don't know.
If he doesn't remember, they was on team. Brandon Sullivan. It was before sectionals, and people were like goofing around, or before divisionals, and I didn't like the mentality in the room. You know, and I'm like, you know what? If somebody talks again, we're doing 100 sprints. And, you know, I said that kind of in jest, more like, you know, stop goofing around. But Sullivan had to be a wise guy and said something. Like he said, like just he
Did something.
called me out.
Yeah.
So I think I remember just gazing at him like,
okay.
all right, everybody on the line. And we did 100 sprints. And when
you know what, it wasn't
good.
It wasn't. You know, they did it pretty easily. But I think mentally it was great. Yeah, they loved it.
Towards the end, they were like rooting each other on.
Yeah,
I remember one that was worse than that, I think. And I'm not going to go into our workouts, but worse than that in the sense where we did bad at Oswego. Like, we didn't show up. We didn't wrestle well. I don't know if Joe was on the team yet or Ant was on the team still, but it was snow. There was snow outside in Chappaqua. And we came back for winter practice. And I said, let's go. We're going outside. And the guys were like, what? And we ran that hill behind the football field in the snow.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. That wasn't too pleasant. A lot of the summer workouts too were always a shock, but that was just because like I was coming out of like summer like hanging out, and just like we'd start wrestling, I'd be sore all over, and they'd be like, all right, we're going outside to like run a mile and do some sprints, maybe some sit-ups on the track, like. And
you gotta love it, Joe. You gotta love it. You gotta buy in and love it. I remember
I don't regret any of it.
Huh?
Like, I don't regret doing any of it.
No, of course. That's what I'm saying. But I think the mindset is like, this is gonna stink, but it's gonna make me better, and I have to embrace it. I remember as a college wrestler, knowing a practice was gonna be really hard and having butterflies, knowing how hard the practice was gonna be. And then, but after, I would always feel great. And once like you get that first like hard sweat, you're kind of like, all right, I can do this. I'm in.
Yeah, I remember my senior year, I used to like them a lot. Like they were a bit more fun because I like, oh, awesome, like wrestling live. Like now I can like actually grab Jacob and Aaron for like a real go. And Jacob was always fun to wrestle because like
I loved wrestling Jacob.
Sometimes he would get into like narrating it. He'd be like it's 3-2. Like Jacob goes in for the shot and then like immediately like shoot.
I really messed that poor kid up.
Oh,
because that's things I would do too. Jacob is like,
I got the
same sentences.
Like that is that like when you wrestle like I would do that in matches sometimes. Like when I was just like running on like just like pure adrenaline, I'd be like like
I still do it. That's when that's when I really fire off that shot. You're gonna hear a sound, you know.
I agree. I mean, doing it, I definitely think my shots better when I make a sound effect because that's how I do.
Now you know. Do you two have any last words, both of you guys, to kind of before we cut this thing?
Just for like wrestling like in the season, don't like beat yourself up too bad on a loss or like a bad day in practice or even a bad day in school. Just focus on like what needs to be done, because if you focus too much on like what is going wrong, you're not really going to see what you're doing right, and it's just going to slow you down and slow down your progress.
Yeah, and especially, you know, if you're having a bad day, you know, go to the room, take it, like use it as your escape. That's what I see a lot of people do that, and it feels, you know, it's good. I like to go there, especially if I was having a bad day at work or had a long day of school, to go in there and get to wrestle with some of the varsity guys, you know.
Me and Nick Phillips would just pumble sometimes in the cafeteria because he had a test coming up and was stressed out.
We gotta get Nick on here.
Maybe we'll do Nick and Nather together.
Yeah, we'll double them up or something. Those two would be good together. But yeah, exactly. Even as a 33-year-old man with these 3-month quarantine or whatever this has been so far, I miss being on the mat. That's my best stress relief, So hopefully this thing ends soon.
Cool.
Anthony gets Vinny up to practice, and then we can scrap, and the Bellises will be up there, and all will be back to normal. Everything will be good. All right, that's the
do
game
it.
plan. But guys, thanks for coming. I'm going to cut off the recording. You could stay on
Great
for
job, guys.
memento.